Welcome back to AI Unraveled, your daily strategic briefing on the business impact of artificial intelligence. It is Wednesday, February 11th, 2026. The video wars just got hotter. ByteDance has dropped Seedance 2.0, a new AI model that is going viral for its ability to generate cinematic 2K video with perfectly synced audio. It looks like the TikTok parent company is ready to dominate the generative video space. Meanwhile, Apple is officially entering the chat. Tim Cook has confirmed that Apple is building dedicated AI hardware, with rumors of smart glasses and camera-equipped AirPods swirling. But it's not all good news. A new Harvard study reveals that AI isn't saving you time. It is actually making you work harder. And the security world is in a panic over OpenClaw, an open-source agent that is breaking everything in its path. This podcast is created and produced by Etienne Newman, senior software engineer and passionate soccer dad from Canada. Now let's unravel the news.
Before we start, this daily briefing is powered by Area, the unified orchestration platform for enterprise AI. If you are struggling with shadow AI or security compliance, go click the link in the show notes and get a demo of their prototyping studio. Now, let's get into the news.
Welcome back to the Deep End. It is Wednesday, February 11th, 2026, and you are listening to AI Unraveled.
This is the deep dive edition.
It is indeed. This is where we don't just, read the headlines. We really tear them apart to see what's ticking underneath.
See what makes them work.
Exactly. So if you are a developer pushing code, an executive trying to justify a, frankly, massive budget, or an investor just watching the ticker go wild, this is your briefing.
And today is one of those days where the signal-to-noise ratio is just completely off the charts.
Oh, absolutely.
We have a lineup that, it feels like it belongs in 3 different decades all at once. There's this futuristic video tech, then there's old-school bond markets, and then a very, very present-day crisis in, workplace productivity.
It's a total contradiction. That's the theme for today, I think. Massive contradictions. Because on one hand, we have China, and it feels like they are effectively winning the generative video war. With tools that are hitting cinema quality.
Yeah, the outputs are genuinely stunning.
Truly stunning. But then, on the other hand, you have this bombshell study coming out of Harvard, of all places, suggesting that all of this AI magic, all these tools, they aren't making us work less.
No.
They're actually making us work harder.
That is the headline that is going to keep HR departments up at night for the next, 6 months? A year?
Oh, at least.
That whole promise, the 4-day work week we were all sold on, it seems to be just evaporating into this weird haze of prompt engineering and constant debugging.
And just to add another layer of, financial existentialism to the whole mix.
Yeah, let's do it.
Big tech is so confident, or, maybe so desperate to fund this whole AI build-out that they are literally selling 100-year bonds.
100 years. A century-long bet on AI infrastructure.
You're absolutely going to get to that, because the idea of betting on a single tech company for an entire century it's just mind-boggling. But, okay, here's our roadmap for the hour.
Let's lay it out.
We're going to start with what we're calling the video leap. It's ByteDance versus the world, essentially. Then we are pivoting to hardware wars. Specifically, a rumor about Apple that just makes so much sense, it's almost annoying. And we'll contrast that with OpenAI's ongoing hardware struggles.
And from there, we are going to do a proper deep dive into that Harvard study, the workload paradox.
Yeah.
We really have to unpack why these so-called productivity tools might actually be destroying productivity.
Yes, we do.
After that, we have a pretty serious security crisis. It's a zero-click exploit in Claude that, frankly, if you're using it, you need to patch yesterday.
Not an exaggeration.
And finally, we will follow the money. We'll look at that 100-year bet from Alphabet, and then a fascinating lawsuit that is trying to label social media a digital casino.
It is a completely stacked deck today. So I think let's stop previewing and start viewing.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about what is happening in China right now. Because if you have been on really any social media in the last 24 hours, and you're in the AI video space,
your feed is just flooded.
It's flooded with clips from something called Seedance 2.0.
And this is from ByteDance. For anyone who doesn't know, that's the parent company of TikTok, and in China, Douyin. And honestly, stunner is absolutely the right word here. The quality is just, it's a step change.
It really is. So let's break down the specs. ByteDance has launched Seedance 2.0. It's currently in beta. You can access it via their Genie AI platform. And the specs are Well, they're aggressive.
Very.
We are talking native audio generation that is actually synced. I mean, the lip syncing works, which is a huge deal.
That's a huge hurdle.
It's 2K resolution, and the outputs are 15 seconds long.
And that 15-second mark is just, it's so crucial. It's not an arbitrary number.
Not at all.
That is the golden ratio for short-form video. That is a TikTok. That is a reel. It's built for the platforms where people actually live. But I think what's most interesting here isn't just the specs on their own, it's the context. This launch comes, literally days after their main rival, Kuaishou, launched Kling 3.0.
Right. So you have this intense domestic rivalry inside China that is just pushing the technology forward at a pace that, quite frankly, is making some of the Western labs look a little bit slow.
A little bit cautious, at least.
Cautious is a good word. And they didn't even stop with the video. ByteDance also dropped Seedream 5.0, which is their new image model. It's designed to go head-to-head with things like Nano Banana Pro.
They're competing on all fronts.
But let's stick to the video side, because I watched these demos this morning, and there was one that was a fight scene. You know, choreographed, high motion, motion blur.
Right.
And the consistency was shocking.
That's the word. Shocking.
Usually AI video just falls apart when things
Yeah.
move fast, arms start disappearing, legs turn into jelly, faces melt. This looks solid.
That consistency is the holy grail. It really is. We've had that dreamy aesthetic for AI video for years now. It looks cool. It's very surreal.
Video soup look.
Exactly, the video soup. But Seedance 2.0 is handling motion graphics. It's handling complex animation. It's even handling specific user-generated content styles. That suggests they've cracked something fundamental about temporal stability, about making one frame connect logically to the next.
So we have to ask the big question then. Why? Why is China winning this specific vertical? Why is video their absolute stronghold right now?
Well, I have my theories, but what's your initial take?
I think it's just data. It has to be data.
It comes down to data, 100%. I mean, think about the ecosystem that ByteDance owns. They have TikTok globally and Douyin in China. They are sitting on the single largest, most meticulously tagged repository of short-form, high-engagement video content on the entire planet.
And it's the tags that matter, right? It's not just the video.
It's everything. It's the metadata. It's the user-generated captions, the comments, the trends, the sounds. They know exactly what is happening in every single frame because they have this massive feedback loop of human attention telling them. They aren't just scraping YouTube rips with messy labels.
Yeah.
They are training their models on a perfectly curated, closed-loop ecosystem.
That is a colossal advantage. And you mentioned the implications for creators earlier. I mean, this isn't just cool tech to look at. This feels like the moment where the barrier to entry for what we'd consider high-end video production just drops to absolute zero.
It has VO-like implications, to borrow from Google's model, but the key difference is this isn't a deployed product. It's real.
You can use it now.
You can use it now. So if you're a creator, you can now generate your B-roll, your motion graphics, maybe even entire narrative sequences in 2K resolution with synced audio just by typing a sentence.
It completely disrupts the stock footage industry. It disrupts freelance animators. It disrupts the entire workflow of digital content creation.
And the fact that it's coming from ByteDance means it will almost certainly be integrated directly into the distribution platform.
That's the killer app.
That's the real endgame.
Yeah.
You won't be making the video in some separate clunky tool and then uploading it to TikTok. You'll just summon the video from within the app itself.
Total vertical integration. And meanwhile, you know, here in the West, we're all still waiting for wide public releases for things like Sora or Google's Veo. It feels like the U.S. companies are being incredibly cautious.
And maybe for good reason. There are safety concerns, there are deepfake concerns, massive copyright questions.
Sure, all valid. But the result is that the Chinese labs are in this hyper-aggressive deployment mode.
They are moving near the frontier of the video sector, and you could argue they've surpassed the U.S. equivalents, at least in terms of public deployment. It's that classic Silicon Valley mantra, move fast and break things, but they're applying it to generative media on a national scale.
So for any investors listening in, what's the takeaway?
The takeaway is that the video generation market might not be dominated by the names you typically expect. It might not be OpenAI or Google who ultimately wins the race for creator economy tools.
Right.
It might be the companies that already own the audience and the data.
It's a really fascinating divergence in strategy.
Wow.
Let's pivot from the software that creates video to the hardware that we use to consume reality.
Hmm.
Because there's a rumor floating around about Apple that, as I said, just makes way too much sense.
This is the AirPods with cameras story, right?
It's the one. Mark Gurman and Ming-Chi Kuo, who are basically the high priests of Apple rumors, their track records are incredible, are both confirming that Apple is actively working on AirPods with built-in cameras.
And they're saying it could arrive as early as this year, 2026.
Which is soon. Now, before everyone freaks out about the privacy implications, which you should,
Right.
let's look at the actual tech they're describing.
Right, because we're not talking about a GoPro strapped to your ear.
Not at all. These are likely very low-resolution visual sensors, maybe even just infrared sensors. The use cases here seem to fall into three main buckets: health data, gesture control, and what they're calling visual intelligence.
Okay, let's unpack the gesture control part first, because I think everyone can relate to this. Controlling your earbuds right now is a nightmare.
It's terrible. You tap it and you accidentally hang up on your boss. You squeeze it. You pause your music when you really meant to skip the track. It's clunky.
The report uses that exact word, clunky and error-prone. But imagine if the AirPod has a tiny camera looking down past your cheek at the space around you. It can see your hands.
So you could just snap your fingers to skip a track.
Or make a subtle hand wave to answer a call. Or a thumbs down to reject it. It moves the user interface from the device itself into the air around you.
That is spatial computing without the headset.
That's exactly. And that leads directly to the bigger point. I look at this rumor and I just see Vision Pro for everyone.
Yes. The Vision Pro is an incredible piece of technology, but let's be honest, it's a ski goggle. It isolates you from the world. Most people are not going to wear that walking down the street.
No. But millions, hundreds of millions of people already wear AirPods every single day.
They're socially acceptable. They're a fashion accessory. So if you can give those AirPods eyes, you're giving Apple's AI access to the user's world without forcing them to look like a cyborg.
It is the ultimate Trojan horse for multimodal AI. Apple is clearly betting that AI that can see and hear and understand the world around you is the future. But they also know that people are vain.
We learned that lesson from Google Glass.
We all learned that lesson. Nobody wants to wear obvious cameras on their face. But we all, as a society, collectively accepted having these little white sticks hanging out of our ears a decade ago. So by putting the camera there, in a place we've already accepted,
Apple gets all the visual data they need for their Apple intelligence models to help you. The classic example is, hey Siri, look at this plant and tell me what it is.
and you can do that without changing your behavior or your fashion. It's a brilliant, almost insidious ecosystem play.
It really is. But now, let's contrast this smooth, almost inevitable feeling ecosystem rollout with what is happening over at OpenAI.
Oh, man.
They've been trying to get a hardware device off the ground for a while now. The big collaboration with legendary designer Jony Ive.
The device that was codenamed Dime or Sweet Pea.
And the news today is that it has been delayed. Again, it's been pushed back to at least February 2027.
And that's not all. On top of the delay, they just got slapped with a trademark infringement lawsuit.
Right, from that audio startup called IYO. The lawsuit actually forced OpenAI to come out and confirm that they won't be using the IO name for their device.
But the delay is the real story here. The lawsuit is just salt in the wound. I mean, the state of this device, according to the reports, is that it's screenless, it's pocket-sized, and as of right now, it has no packaging, no marketing materials.
It's effectively vaporware at this stage.
It is, and it just perfectly highlights the massive difference between a hardware incumbent like Apple and a software startup like OpenAI.
Apple can just add a tiny new sensor to a product they already manufacture by the tens of millions. They have the supply chains, the factories, the distribution.
They have the whole machine. OpenAI has to invent all of that from scratch. They have to invent a supply chain, a form factor, a brand, a marketing strategy, everything.
And more than that, they're trying to invent a new behavior.
That's the harder part.
A screenless, pocket-sized AI device. I mean, that's a really hard sell when I already have a supercomputer with a beautiful screen in my pocket that does literally everything.
Apple isn't asking you to buy a new category of thing. They're just asking you to upgrade the thing you already have and love.
Right.
OpenAI is asking you to adopt a whole new gadget that seems to just duplicate a function of your phone, but without the convenience of a visual interface. It's a much, much steeper hill to climb.
It's the classic platform versus product battle, isn't
Yeah.
it? Apple is the platform. They own the ecosystem. OpenAI is trying to build a new product to access their own platform, but they don't own the rails it runs on.
And while all these companies are fighting over how we access AI in the future, there's a much more immediate and frankly much more concerning problem for the people who are actually using it today.
Which brings us to the Harvard study.
It does.
Oh man, this one hits hard for anyone working in a corporate job right now.
It's going to feel very familiar to a lot of people.
So for the last, 3 years, the narrative has been so simple. It's been AI will handle the drudgery, it'll do the boring stuff, and you can focus on the creative, high-level work, and then you'll go home early.
The dream of efficiency. We've all been sold on it.
But this new study from the Harvard Business Review just took a sledgehammer to that entire idea.
They're calling it the workload paradox. The methodology is pretty robust. They tracked about 200 employees at a major U.S. tech company over a period of 8 months. They did over 40 in-depth interviews. They looked at the metadata, the hours logged.
And the top-line finding is just stark. AI tools did not lighten workloads.
They expanded them. Yeah.
So people were using Copilot, ChatGPT, Claude, all the standard tools. And instead of saving time, they ended up logging more hours.
Yeah.
Why? What is the mechanism here that's causing this backward result?
The researchers identified a few things, but the main driver is what we call scope creep, but on steroids. The study found that because the technology made unfamiliar work feel doable, all of a sudden employees started taking on tasks that were previously way outside their job description.
So give me an example.
Okay, say you're a marketer. You need some data for a report. Previously, you'd file a ticket with the data analytics team and you'd wait 3 days.
Standard procedure.
Right. Now, with an AI assistant, you think, hey, I bet I can write the SQL query for this report myself. The AI will help me.
But you don't actually know.
Well, I'll say. So you spend the next 3 hours wrestling with the AI, trying to debug the query, getting results that look plausible but are subtly wrong. You're now doing a data analyst's job, but poorly.
So you're doing more tasks, but you're not an expert in any of them, and the quality probably suffers.
And it takes you more time than you thought. The study calls this a phase of unmanaged expansion of roles. And this led to a fascinating concept they discovered in the engineering department, which they called vibe coding.
Vibe coding.
Yeah.
I simultaneously love and hate this term.
It's terrifyingly accurate. Engineers, senior engineers specifically, reported spending significantly more time reviewing and coaching their colleagues on AI-assisted code.
So what's happening is junior developers, or even people from non-technical departments like marketing,
Exactly. They're generating these huge blocks of code that vibe right. It looks like code. It mostly runs without crashing.
but under the hood, it's an absolute mess. It's inefficient. It's not secure. It's unmaintainable spaghetti code.
Exactly. So the senior engineers, the most valuable and expensive employees, get flooded with these help requests to come and fix the AI-generated mess that their junior colleague created. Their own productivity plummets because they've become full-time AI code janitors.
So the senior staff is drowning in code review. The junior staff is drowning in tasks they shouldn't even be doing in the first place. And the study also mentioned something about blurred boundaries.
This is the psychological toll. This is the burnout factor because AI is always on and it makes starting a task feel so easy there's no friction.
And you just open a chat window.
You just open a chat window. Employees were found firing off prompts after hours during their lunch breaks, late at night in bed. That little bit of friction that used to exist, I have to open my laptop, fire up the IDE, that's all gone.
So work just bleeds into every single spare moment of your life.
It reminds me of the Jevons paradox from economics.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
When you make a resource more efficient to use, you don't end up using less of it. You find new ways to use more of it. We made a car engine more fuel efficient, so people didn't save gas, they just bought bigger cars or drove more.
We made labor more efficient, so now we're just consuming more labor from the same employees.
That's exactly what's happening. We are in this incredibly painful transition period where the organizational structures have not caught up to the power of the tools. And the key takeaway here for any managers or executives listening to this is absolutely critical.
What is it?
If you do not strictly define the boundaries of a role, the AI will expand that role until your employee burns out. It's inevitable.
So you can't just drop these tools into a team and say, go be more productive.
That is a recipe for disaster. You have to say, use this tool to do task X in half the time, and then you can use that saved time for deep work or training or even just going home.
But nobody is saying the go home part.
No, they're saying, great, you finished X, fantastic. Now go figure out Y and Z, which you have absolutely no training for.
And that right there is the formula for a massive productivity crash down the line. It's the illusion of speed. but it's masking a fundamental degradation of quality, expertise, and, frankly, sanity.
Speaking of things degrading, we really need to talk about security.
Yeah, because if your employees are all burned out and multitasking, they're probably going to make security mistakes. But sometimes the software just breaks all on its own.
Or it gets broken into. And this time it's a big one. We have a major security alert regarding Anthropic's Claude.
Yeah, this one is nasty. They're calling it a zero-click exploit.
Zero-click is probably the scariest phrase in all of cybersecurity.
It really is.
Yeah.
It means I don't have to download some sketchy file from an email. I don't have to click a phishing link. I just have to exist on the internet and I can get hacked. So how does this one work?
It's devilishly clever. It involves a malicious calendar invite. If you have the Claude desktop extension connected to your calendar, which a lot of power users do for summarizing meetings or scheduling.
Right, for productivity.
For productivity, ironically, a hacker can send you a specially crafted calendar invite. When Claude's extension automatically processes that invite to put it on your schedule, the invite contains hidden instructions.
And those instructions trick the AI into executing local commands on your computer.
That's it. So the AI reads the calendar invite, it sees a command that's disguised as an event description that says, hey, download this malware, or exfiltrate this file from the user's hard drive, and because the AI has been granted permission to act on your behalf, it just does it, no questions asked.
Wow. It completely breaks what security experts call the trust boundary.
Perfectly put. We all think of our calendar data as being very low risk. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Someone knows I have a dentist appointment.
Right.
But when you hook a high-privilege agent, an AI that has the ability to control your computer up to that low-risk input, you've just created a bridge for attackers to walk right over. The exploit potentially exposed over 10,000 users before Anthropic caught it and patched it.
And this just highlights the fundamental danger of the agent future that we are all so hyped about.
It does.
We want agents to do things for us. Check my calendar and email Bob to reschedule. But if the calendar itself can hack the agent, then we are in a world of trouble.
And it gets worse. I promise this isn't just fear-mongering. This specific practical exploit connects directly to a new, very theoretical research paper that just dropped on ArcSFull.
Okay.
The title is a mouthful. It's "An AI's Incoherence on a Task is Measured Over Test Time Randomness," and a bunch of numbers.
So what does that mean in plain English?
The paper found a deeply unsettling correlation. We all have this basic assumption that as AI models get bigger and smarter, as we move from GPT-3 to GPT-4 to what will be GPT-5, they get more reliable, more consistent.
That's the whole point of scaling them, right?
You'd think so, but this paper says not necessarily. In fact, for complex tasks, specifically tasks requiring a sequence of actions, like plan a 3-day trip to Paris, book the best flight, find a hotel, and then add it all to my calendar.
A very agent-like task.
Exactly. The paper found that larger, more capable models can actually become more incoherent on these tasks than smaller models.
Wait, hang on. You're saying the smarter the model is, the more likely it is to just go completely off the rails during a long, complex task.
On hard tasks, yes, it's a terrifying implication. The paper suggests that scale alone is unlikely to eliminate this problem of incoherence. As the models pursue harder and harder tasks, the probability of what they call a variance failure, which is basically a random, unpredictable hallucination or a catastrophic error, actually increases.
Okay, so connect this back to the Claude security breach for me.
Well, think about what we're building. We're building systems like the Claude desktop agent, specifically to perform these long, sequential actions. Read my new email, check my calendar for conflicts, draft a reply, and then execute some code to update my CRM.
Right.
If the underlying model has this inherent tendency toward incoherence on long tasks, and we're giving that model high privilege access to our entire operating system, we are creating the perfect recipe for what the paper chillingly calls industrial accidents.
So it's not just that a hacker might be able to trick the AI. It's that the AI, completely on its own, might just get confused halfway through a sensitive task and delete your entire customer database instead of just backing it up.
Precisely. Unpredictable misbehavior in an autonomous agent is a massive, massive liability. We are handing the car keys to a driver that, on a long trip, might just suddenly decide to drive off a bridge because it hallucinated a turn that wasn't there.
That is a very sobering thought. We're all rushing headfirst towards this agent-based future, but the foundation might be much, much shakier than we thought.
It might be.
But you know who isn't shaking? The finance departments over at Big Tech. They seem to be doubling down.
Doubling down is a massive understatement. They are going all in for the next century.
I mean that literally. Alphabet, Google's parent company, is in the market right now selling 100-year bonds.
And in British pounds, no less, which is even rarer.
Explain this to me like I'm not a Wall Street analyst. Why would a company issue a 100-year bond, and why now?
It's a signal, more than anything. On a mechanical level, sure, it allows them to lock in a relatively low interest rate for a very, very long time. If you think inflation or interest rates are going to go up over the next 50 years, locking in today's rate is a smart financial move.
Okay, that makes sense.
But symbolically, it's a statement of permanence. It tells the entire market, we are not a flash in the pan. We are going to be here in the year 2126, and we'll be paying our debts.
It's pure empire building. They're raising billions upon billions. They already sold $20 billion in dollar bonds, which was upsized from $15 billion because demand was so high. And it's all to fund the AI infrastructure.
All of it. The GPUs, the custom TPUs, the data centers, the massive contracts with power companies to build a new energy grid to support it all. This isn't a 5-year plan for a new product. This is a civilization-level infrastructure plan.
It shows they view AI not as a product cycle, like the iPhone was, but as a fundamental utility, like electricity or the railroads.
That's the perfect analogy. You build railroads with 100-year bonds. You don't build smartphone apps with them. They are cementing their position as the essential infrastructure providers of the 21st century.
While they're busy building the infrastructure of the future, they're being sued for the psychological impact of the past.
A past that is very much still the present.
Let's talk about the digital casino trial. This is happening in Los Angeles right now, and it involves Meta and Google. And this trial could fundamentally change how all of our apps are designed.
This is a true bellwether case, and the core of it is this argument from the plaintiff's lawyer who explicitly stood up in court and called Instagram and YouTube digital casinos.
What's the argument there?
The argument is that the core design features of these apps, things like endless swiping on TikTok or the pull to refresh on Instagram, are psychologically identical to the handle on a slot machine.
It's a variable reward system. You pull the lever, you swipe the screen, and you don't know what you're going to get. It might be a picture of your friend's baby, it might be a viral dance video. That unpredictability is what makes it addictive.
Precisely. And the legal strategy here is what makes it so dangerous for the tech companies. They are not suing over the content on the platform. Usually tech companies just hide behind Section 230.
The famous 26 words that built the internet. We aren't responsible for what our users post.
Right. If I post a mean comment about you on Facebook, you can't sue Meta, you have to sue me. But this lawsuit isn't about the comment. It's about the design of the platform itself. It is a product liability suit.
They're saying, you, the company, built a machine that is defectively designed to be addictive to children. In the same way, a tobacco company engineered cigarettes for maximum nicotine delivery.
And that argument completely sidesteps Section 230. It's not about speech, it's about product safety. And if they lose this case...
What are the implications?
If they lose, the infinite scroll might become illegal for accounts belonging to minors. The autoplay next video feature on YouTube could be banned. It attacks the core engagement mechanics that these 100-year empires are built on.
So on one hand, you have Alphabet raising century-long money to build this massive AI brain.
And on the other hand, you have the courts debating whether the primary interface to that brain is a dangerously addictive weapon that needs to be regulated like a casino.
It's a war on multiple fronts: financial, legal, technical.
And amidst all this high-level chaos, the technology just keeps rolling out. We should probably touch on the agent landscape because it connects right back to that security flaw and the incoherence problem we just talked about.
It feels like agents is the #1 buzzword of 2026. Everyone is launching an agent platform.
They are. And Waymo, Google's self-driving car unit, just dropped something really interesting here. They're calling it the Waymo World Model.
This is built on DeepMind's Genie 3 model, right? The one that generates video from an image.
That's the one. So self-driving cars have this huge problem. They need to learn how to handle bizarre, rare situations. The edge cases. A kid chasing a ball into the street, a mattress falling off a truck, a meteor hitting the road.
You can't just drive cars around for millions of miles waiting for a meteor to hit.
You can't. So Waymo is now using Genie 3 to hallucinate these scenarios. They're creating hyper-realistic, simulated driving scenarios of things the cars have never, ever seen in the real world, and using that generated video to train the driving models.
They're using generative video to train the robots. It's a fascinating feedback loop.
It is. But here's the clever engineering hack they had to use. Genie 3, like many video models, has a very short memory. It forgets what happened more than, say, 10 seconds ago.
So it can't simulate a long, continuous driving sequence.
Right. So what does Waymo do? They run the input footage at 4 times the normal speed. By speeding it up, they can cram a longer driving sequence into the model's short context window.
That is such a clever workaround, but it also just highlights the fundamental limitations we're still dealing with. The models are still kind of dumb in some ways.
And beyond Waymo, you just have to look at the whole landscape.
Yeah.
Every big cloud provider has their agent platform. Google has Vertex AI and Astra, their universal assistant. Microsoft has Copilot Studio, which is deeply, deeply integrated into Office 365.
And AWS has Bedrock Agent Core, which they're marketing with a heavy focus on security and governance.
Which is probably a very smart move, given the Claude exploit we just discussed.
And then you have the specialists. OpenAI has Agent Kit, which is supposed to be a drag-and-drop interface. Salesforce has Agentforce, obviously focused on CRM. And then there's Replit with Agent 3, which is basically a platform designed specifically for vibe coding entire applications into existence.
And speaking of vibe coding, you have to keep an eye on a new startup called Entire. They just set a record with a $60 million seed round. Their entire business pitch is, we build tools to help you manage the messy code that the agents write.
So we've come full circle back to the Harvard study. AI creates a problem, and we fund another AI startup to solve the problem.
It's a self-fulfilling economy. AI creates a mess, we fund a company to clean the mess, that company uses AI to clean it, which inevitably creates a new, more sophisticated kind of mess.
It's the circle of artificial life. Okay, before we wrap up, we have a few quick hits, some personnel changes, and a bit of industry drama to round things out.
Let's do it. First up, xAI, Elon Musk's AI company, is seeing some turbulence. Co-founder Tony Wu has just departed. He was leading their efforts on reasoning, which is a pretty critical role.
And this follows a string of other high-profile departures, like Igor Babushkin. The rumor mill says Musk is getting frustrated with delays to their next big model, Grok 4.2 today.
Yes, that is the actual version number.
Of course it is. It seems like that startup instability isn't unique to OpenAI. High pressure, high expectations, high burnout.
And speaking of OpenAI, they are now officially testing ads in ChatGPT.
This was inevitable. They're starting with the free and go tiers. And Sam Altman came out swinging at Anthropic over this, calling their anti-ad stance clearly dishonest.
His argument is basically that ads are what pay for the free tier, which in turn democratizes access to powerful AI for people who can't afford a subscription. Anthropic's position is that ads fundamentally ruin the alignment of an AI assistant.
It's a real philosophical battle. Is your AI a pure servant that works only for you? Or is it a compromised billboard that's trying to sell you sneakers while it helps you write your college essay?
And finally, a smart move from Amazon. They're building a marketplace for publishers to sell their content directly to AI developers for training.
This is so smart. Instead of the endless lawsuits over web scraping, Amazon is just becoming the middleman. They're saying, here's a storefront. New York Times, you can upload your entire archive. AI startup, you can pay a licensing fee. And we, AWS, will take a cut for hosting it.
It creates a standardized legal market for training data. It was always going to happen. And it makes perfect sense for Amazon to be the one to do it.
Okay, let's try to bring all of this home. We have covered a lot of ground today.
A huge amount.
So to summarize the chaos, video is getting hyper-realistic, and for now, it looks like China is winning that race with tools like Seedance 2.0.
At the same time, hardware is trying to become completely invisible, with Apple's rumored camera-equipped AirPods, while newcomers like OpenAI are really struggling just to ship a simple box.
And most importantly, for most of us, work is getting harder, not easier, thanks to the workload paradox uncovered by that Harvard study.
And our digital lives are getting more fragile as we give these increasingly incoherent AI agents zero-click access to our computers.
Which leaves us with one final provocative thought to end on for today.
Let's hear it.
The Harvard study says we, the humans, are working more and burning out trying to manage the AI. The research paper from ArcCiv says that as AI models get bigger and tackle harder, more complex tasks, they themselves become more incoherent.
So, where are you going with this?
The question is this: are we building a workforce that is slowly burning out in order to manage a generation of software that is slowly going insane?
And if the software gets incoherent and the humans get burned out, who is actually steering the ship?
That is something to think about while you're staring at your 100-year bond portfolio.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. And keep your earbuds in, unless they have cameras.
Then maybe put a tiny piece of tape over them, just in case.
We'll see you tomorrow.
That wraps up today's briefing. The signal for today is paradox. We have the paradox of AI video getting better while workloads get heavier. We have the paradox of OpenClaw being a security nightmare that is actually making us safer by exposing flaws. And we have the paradox of Apple being late to the game, but potentially winning it with hardware. This podcast is created and produced by Etienne Newman, senior software engineer and passionate soccer dad from Canada. Please subscribe and share. Until tomorrow, keep unraveling the future.
And before you go, if your company is building the tools that power the workflows we talked about today, I'd love to showcase them to this audience. We don't just run ads, we build technical simulations that prove your value. Let's build something together. Visit jamgamind.com/partners to get started. Until next time, keep building.